Aloha, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday Fireside Chat. Tech difficulties today, so we're just going live on one platform, which is, it's multiple platforms, but we're not going to be able to be on all the platforms that we are usually on. So, welcome. I want to start out our Fireside Chat with a poem. And if you give me a quick moment, I will pull it up over here. It's on my phone, so I can't pull it up while I'm live with you guys on my phone, but I can pull it up and read it to you guys from my computer. So, un momento. So, something that some of you may know because we just shared it with our smaller tribe of people via email is that my dream team and I have been hard at work putting together an event that we are all super excited about. And I'll for sure share that with you and what that is and all that jazz here toward the end of our time together. But basically, it's been a lot of work and there have been a lot of moving parts to it. And so I found that we were all kind of taking the whole thing really seriously. And this morning, because the creator is amazing and because the universe works in not so mysterious ways, I think, I got this little message from my another beautiful tribe of people that I'm a part of. And it's a poem that they shared with me, or that one of them shared with the group, called Tripping Over Joy. And it reads, and it is by Hafez. So Tripping Over Joy by Hafez. And it says, what is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made a fantastic move. That the saint is now continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I'm afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. Just struck my heart today because I think it can all get to be such a serious thing, or it can feel like such a serious thing that we're doing, whether we are creating something, working on a project, on the spiritual or personal development path, where it can all start to feel like just so serious. And that really, the name of the game is to allow ourselves to trip over joy, that is really the stuff of saints, our ability to say, you know what, I have zero control here, right? I actually don't have control over the outcome. I don't have control over, every bit and, piece of this. I surrender, right? I give it over to you, God, the beloved, and I know that everything is unfolding as it's meant to in its highest and best good. But more importantly, just as importantly, I should say, as the surrender piece, I think is the theme in there about tripping over joy, right? Which means really, how do we cultivate that sense of joy in everything that we do? It's a tall order, I think, to say, hey, just be joyful all the time. But one of the primary pillars of the radical resilience process is practicing joy as a daily spiritual practice. And I offer it in that way, in that frame, because I think that our devotion to the things that bring us joy matters. And so as we commit to looking for what brings us joy every day, I mean, first of all, asking ourselves, like, what brings me joy? What lights me up? What makes me get into that energetic frequency? As we examine, what those things are, and then commit to those things, commit to doing those things, or being around those people, or engaging in those activities that bring us joy, what we're doing is, first of all, I think it's a devotional act to do that. Like when you do anything with intention, to me, that is a spiritual act. It's a devotional act. Like I am intentionally doing this thing. So if we can approach our joy that way, our joy practices as devotional, I think it puts a whole different spin around the idea of like cultivating joy and happiness and positive emotions. So from a spiritual perspective, I think that gives us access to our essence, right? When we're in that state of joy or bliss or, even experiencing profound pleasure, that gateway to our essence is so much more available than when we're sort of crunchy and contracted and, in our headspace and noodling. Now, that's not to say that the experience of being joyful is better than the experience of going through the very real emotions of a difficult time or processing those lower frequency emotions. I think the name of the game is, can we find some amount of gratitude and be able to tap into the joy of the situation, whether we're in the light side or the dark side of the coin, right? Whether we're experiencing a hard time or going through a really joyful time. So again, I'm not saying that being in that like high up joyful place is better. What I am suggesting is that if we can tap into that energy, even in the midst of the very important deep inner work that we're doing, that it gives us a gateway, an access point to our essential nature, to our soulful selves, that part of us that is eternal, the part of us that actually is just pure love, right? God made manifest, which is, pure light. So I know it just got kind of super heady there, but all of that to say, I think that we can do things to cultivate positive emotions, and that's just as important on the path to spiritual development, which to me is really is synonymous with being a resilient human being. When you're on that spiritual path, with the intention of finding your way to your essence, right? Or rather, I should say, excavating that essence and allowing it to come to the surface, because it's always there. But when we're on that path, I think it's important that we allow ourselves to not just do the deep inner work, not just be, kind of in the mud with our hands and moving through that dark and stormy, but also to encourage positive emotions. And that ability to deliberately and purposefully cultivate a sense of joy every day or within, whatever small way that we can, really helps us experience, really helps us move through those difficult times, because it actually physiologically gives us more capacity for enduring the difficult things, right? It actually increases dopamine and serotonin in the brain, and it actually increases our threshold for pain, believe it or not. So, it's not just a frivolous thing to find joy or to play. Yeah, it's actually something that is godlike in its essence. It's a big statement, right? So, let me know what you think of that and how you commit, or how you can commit to this idea of tripping over joy. Like, how can you bring more joy into your life and allow yourself to take the whole darn thing less seriously? What do you do that brings you joy? What are your small little joy practices? I'll share with you. And by the way, they don't have to cost you anything, right? I mean, they don't have to require any resources. So for me, the simple things that I do in a devotional way every day that bring me joy are things like snuggling with my dog, and I know Jack makes appearances in all kinds of places, but it's because he is sort of this little spirit being to me. And he brings me a great deal of joy. And so I very intentionally, devotionally spend time with him, knowing that it's something I'm doing that brings me into closer alignment with my essence. Um, Besides that, I love to just be in nature. Like that small thing of just going outside and looking at the trees helps me tap into that inner joy. So they don't have to be expensive, right? They don't have to cost you anything. This isn't about like, oh, I'm going to go on a big retreat and that's going to bring me joy. I mean, certainly that could. And why not do that, right? But what I'm talking about here is how can we tap into the joy in any moment, in every moment. And of course, I always have to qualify that statement by saying I don't mean spiritual bypassing and pretending to feel okay. What I mean is, how can you genuinely tap into that? How can you increase your? I have a dear friend who had a saying about increasing your own personal sunshine, right? So where can you find that little bit of sunshine, little bit of levity within whatever you happen to be doing? So I think there's just good questions to ask. Anyway, we've been going for about 12 minutes. And I'm going to probably log off here and go right back to working on that project that I mentioned at the top of this. So let me just tell you a little bit about that. October 1st, we are coming together and we are taking the framework that I do with so many clients one-on-one and sharing that with all of you in a very lovely communal way. So on October 1st, we are doing what's called the Radical Resilience Intensive. We're coming together virtually. Mostly that's just because of everything that's going on in the world right now, but we're going to come together in a virtual space. And I actually love it because I think it means you can do it from the comfort of your own home. And it means that more of you can join in on the fun without having to travel anywhere. But we're going to come together for a day of experiencing radical resilience together. It's going to start at 10:30 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. And my goal is to take you through the experience of these frameworks. Big picture, having an experience of surrendering, having an experience of some inner healing work, and reconciling some negative thought patterns and limiting beliefs that have potentially been holding you back and preventing you from thriving and being in that space of joy, and ultimately coming home, right? So to surrender, heal, and come home to yourself. That is the intention, the goal for the day. So be on the lookout for more information about that. If you're watching the replay now, again, mark your calendar, October 1st. And I can't wait to play with all of you in that space. For now, I'm going to wish you a beautiful, healthy, happy, joyful weekend. And I'm going to take myself back to doing the work of putting this event together with so much love and light and aloha from my heart to yours. Namaste.